Hi, everybody. I hope you're doing well. Just wanted to share with you a little writing exercise from this fantastic book that was recommended to me by Rob, aka Henri, the last time we talked. And I'm really glad that I took his recommendation. This is the Chambers Crossword Manual by Don Manley, and it's really fantastic. I want to take a look inside. What you see here on page 65 is a very nice challenge that he gives us to try to write 8 different types of clues for one word pale. And he had introduced these clues to us, these clue types to us earlier in the book, and he gives us models for how each of these might go. So let's just take a look at his models first, and then if you want, you should try it out also. He begins with a double definition clue, put up with, and a rude person, both equal the word bear, although I didn't know that about a rude person. For an anagram clue, he gives us goose's mate, ruined garden, and ruined is the indicator, telling us to anagram the word garden, which gives us goose's mate or gander. For a charade or charade clue, he gives us the French shelter is hidden. Hidden is the definition, meaning latent. And then the French would be la, shelter would be tent, and you snap them together, you get latent. For a container and contents clue, he gives us a word for the definition rapid. And you could see quiet or P in musical notation is inside a word meaning sudden attack or raid. So if you put P inside raid, you get a word meaning fast or rapid. For a reversal clue, this one I like. He says, show contempt perhaps, gratuities sent back. And another word for gratuities is tips. And if you turn that backwards, you would get spit, which might be show contempt, perhaps. That's one way to do it. Then we get hidden inside the phrase her nest is the word earn or sea eagle. So that's a hidden clue example. For vocal or homophone type clue, he says dispatched or sent perfume we hear. And we hear is indicating that it's some sort of vocal type clue. And a word for perfume is scent, which can also be spelled differently, S-E-N-T, meaning dispatched. And then for a deletion or a subtractive clue, he gives us senior is more daring, losing head. Now, more daring could mean bolder. And then if you lose the head of the word bolder, you can get a word for senior or older. So what I have next is my attempt to do this exercise. And it was more challenging than I anticipated. I'm still not too good at this stuff. And using the same word over and over and over again really does put a little strain on you, especially when you're trying to come up with unique definitions each time. So I invite you to try this out if you want. You can also just shut it off if you want, and maybe look in the description where I'll post a digital copy of this document, or you can continue watching, and I'll show you what I did in my attempt to do the exercise. And then after that, I'll show you the answers that Don Manley gives us in the book, because he does say we can compare lists on page 89. So let's take a look. So here's how I approach the task. For a multiple or double definition clue, I came up with faded stripe on shield. I never knew that a stripe going vertically on an old-fashioned shield is known as a pale, and faded is also a word that means pale. Anagram, albino's twisty leap, and if you use twisty as an anagram indicator, leap can turn into pale. And another thing I didn't know is that albino is sometimes used as an adjective for the word pale. So I repurposed that adjective into a noun for the surface of this clue. For charade, daddy with the nice flat or the Nice flat. So the in France, specifically in the city Nice, would be pronounced le. And then daddy could be pa. And if you snap pa and le together, you get the word pale. Not the best clue. Container and contents. Quiet energy surrounds aluminum boundary fence. And here we get P for quiet, E for energy, and then surrounding aluminum would be AL. And then a boundary fence is another word for pale. And I like this challenge because it forces you to go into the dictionary and look at all these definitions for common words that you might not have known. For reversal clue, we have drained from returning European round trip. Drained here is the definition, meaning pale or drained of color. And then from returning European round trip, returning is the indicator telling us that European, E, round trip, lap are all going to go backwards. So ELAP, backwards is pale. For a hidden clue, I came up with gray and retired in genteel apartment. For me, I just like the picture that paints of this gentleman or this woman who hopefully is enjoying their later years. I hope we all do. And the hidden word here is in between genteel apartment. And it's also backwards. So you could see ELAP, that's retired. And in is the hidden indicator. And this is a word meaning gray or pale. For vocal or homophone clue, I came up with washed out bucket picked up. This is a pain in the neck trying to get the grammar somewhat in order. And washed out is the definition for pale. Bucket is another word for pale, P-A-I-L. And then picked up is something you might pick up with your ear. And that indicates that it's a homophone. So pale, P-A-I-L, can also be spelled P-A-L-E. And then for a subtractive clue, I came up with off-white notion in opaline. So notion can also be not I-O-N, stuck together. And if you take the I-O-N out of opaline, you are left with P-A-L-E, another word for off-white. So this is what I came up with. It was fun, and it was actually pretty challenging to clue the first word over and over. For me, cluing any word is challenging, but this was an interesting task. And now I'd like to show you what Don Manley himself came up with. And I did misunderstand his directions just a little bit. So he has a couple extra definitions here, but there's nothing wrong with that. And I hope this is something you enjoy. Take a look at the exercise, the document, if you want, in the comments, and give it a shot. And if you don't want to use the word pale, of course, use any word you'd like. Thanks for watching and have a good day.